Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand. It is the end of the year.
Unbelievable.
And it's time for...
I keep saying that.
Yeah, it's time for resolutions.
Yes. Do you make resolutions?
You know, everyone talks about resolutions. What's your New Year's resolution? And, you know, people talk about losing weight or eating healthier or exercising more or all of these things. And... you know, as you well know,
it lasts for a good week, right?
They do, you know, but the gym memberships move up. I mean, your first month in January, those gyms are very busy. Go visit in March and see how many people are keeping those resolutions.
Yeah. Have you looked at that parking lot? We have a gym outside.
Lifetime Fitness is just
Lifetime
outside.
Fitness. It's just outside. You can see the parking lot in January. It is mobbed.
You know, 4:30 in the morning, everybody's
not
up.
so much.
Yeah, everybody's up, ready to go because, I'm going to get, you know, my exercise in before work starts. Well,
yeah. It lasts for a couple weeks usually.
Yeah. Did you make any resolutions?
I
haven't. Have you even thought of any?
I haven't really thought of any, no. How about you?
Well, I've finally made one that I think I can keep. So I'm pushing myself to do this because everybody knows I get involved in a lot of stuff. I have a tendency
It's hard to say no.
It is. It's hard to say no. And, you know, look, we've been in the community for a very long time, helping out in every way we can. And we want to help out all the time. And we want to try to do the best we can. And usually when I say yes to stuff, I'm kind of all in. It's not just, oh, here's a check, or sure, I'll join this committee. I'm like, I'll run the committee, or I'll do this. So
you end up being pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah, and then I get very frustrated when people aren't kind of committing as much as I might be committing, and that's not their fault. It's probably my own
expectations.
Yeah, I have to settle my expectations. So I've made a New Year's resolution this year. And it's one that I've heard of that other people do, and I never was able to really wrap my head around it. But this year, my New Year's resolution is I am only going to say yes to things that will bring me joy.
Great resolution. You know, I will tell you, a couple weeks ago, you remember I went to that conference in Florida.
Correct.
So the keynote speaker of the conference was Goldie Hawn.
Wow.
So you remember Goldie Hawn, right?
I do, sure.
Mean, fabulous. She's really inspirational, but honestly, her whole motto is to find joy in everything she does. That is the way she lives her life.
Yeah. And
she emphasized that.
And I think, you know, there's at some point in your life where you're able to say, you know what, I can actually do that. There are other periods of time when, look, there isn't a lot of joy when, you know, you're having to raise bratty children, right? You know, when the kids are in that phase of their life, but you have to do it anyways, right?
And you have to schlep them around. And I mean, there are just so many things as you go through life that you need to do, and you're glad you did them after you did them.
Right.
However, while you're in the midst of it, it's not really bringing you a lot of joy.
Well, you know, look, parenthood is the most thankless job in the world.
Absolutely.
Though you love your kids to death, it's pretty thankless until they're old enough and they begin to appreciate it. But even for you and me, Mary, and look, we've had this business a long time, Freedman Financial. I mean, it's been around since 1968. And like anybody that is starting a business, I don't care whether you're in financial services or you're running, you know, a local barber shop, there are times when you have to serve clients that don't necessarily bring you that much joy. And, you know, we're at the point, because of the stage that we're in our practice, we can selectively say, you know what, I know you want to work with us, but we want to work with you too. And we can make sure that that experience is exceptional for both of us so that the clients that we do keep, maintain, bring on are clients that fit into the philosophy of what we're doing as opposed to us adjusting what we need to do.
Absolutely. And you know, the saying that, you know, you can't be all things to all people.
It's very true.
Is so true. And we have a niche. There are certain people and that we feel we can do a very good job for. And those are the people that actually bring us joy because we feel like we are helping, seriously helping them out. And they also feel very thankful that they've come to us because, you know, we are just what they were looking for, or just the type of advice they were looking for.
You know, it's interesting. In our business, we can do that. Though if you're trying to build a business, like any business, you'll take on anybody because, as my father used to say when we started in this business, who is your target market? And he just said mammals. That's really what his target market was.
There you go.
But, you know, that's how a business grows. And then you evolve. And then you change.
And you figure out what the niche is that you want to serve, you know, as you go along.
Yeah, and some may argue, well, Mark, isn't that being a bit discriminatory?
I don't think it's discriminatory. I just think it's, you know, we want to provide value for what people pay us.
Right.
And we're not providing value to some people if, you know, they are not a good fit for the office.
Right, absolutely. So that's why we want to be as transparent as we possibly can with the way that we explain how we work with you as a financial planner, that you are making sure that you are getting value for the fee that you pay us.
Exactly. And, you know, we want to partner with you as you go through life so that, you know, we are a resource to ask questions, to, you know, make your decisions. I mean, that's what we're there for. And if somebody is truly doesn't need that aspect of it, you know, they're probably not the best fit for the office.
Right.
Or somebody really just starting out, you know, that doesn't have any complications, they just want to invest some money, it might not be the best fit to come to us.
Well, and so that is true, but that's why on our website, you can find the 5 typical categories of clients that we serve. I'll tell you what you won't see. You won't see large business owners. You won't see institutions. You won't see big 401k plans. No. We deal with people, with families, with individuals. Yes, do we deal with business owners? Usually as they're beginning to phase out of their business and having to deal with life as an individual, not as a business owner. But all of those issues around business owner type stuff, I'll let you do your own thing. But that's that's one of the criteria. But just because you fall into one of those categories, we need to make sure both of us, you and us, have to say, you know what, this is a good fit.
Right.
You know, I do a lot of traveling and speaking around the country, talking to folks about what, you know, how we do financial planning, how we serve our clients, all that kind of stuff. And the first question people ask me is, what is your minimum, Mark? And most people seem to think that our minimum is
$1 million. I mean, who knows?
Right, but they think it's a number. They're waiting to hear, Mark, what is that number that's your minimum? Yeah. And what people don't realize is that our minimum, and as should be your minimum, do we like each other?
And also, I mean, absolutely, do we get along? Do we have a connection there? And also, we need, you know, the clients who come to us need to be transparent about what their situation is, because we want to view your financial life very holistically. So if you don't want to share that information, you're probably not a great fit for our office.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's the reason why, you know, we're proud to say a 99.5% retention rate of clients over the past 20 years.
It's amazing.
And, you know, that's not typical in this industry. People come and go. They leave advisors. They come to join other advisors. When people land here, they stay. And then they introduce us to their children and their friends and co-workers.
Absolutely.
And that's how we build our business. So, you know, to us, this idea of really trying to focus our time, at least for me, for my own personal resolution for the upcoming year, is to really make sure that we find joy in everything that we do. Our clients are a big, big part of that, but so too are the personal things that we choose to do. In fact, just recently, I was asked, along with the rabbi of our temple, to perform at Brooksby Village, a senior living facility that has all different levels of care.
Not far from our office.
No, right.
Right in the community.
And the past couple of years, we've done a Hanukkah luncheon for them, for the Jewish council that's over at Brooksby Village. There was about 100 people that showed up for lunch, and the rabbi and I were singing songs with the group, got to know them, told some stories, all that kind of stuff. And it was such a delightful day. People appreciated it. And I said, you know what? that brought me joy. That's the type of stuff that I need to do. So I'm sharing this, my own personal story with you, encouraging you to do the same thing. What is it next year that will bring you joy? Perhaps one of those things is financial peace of mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that might be the thing that brings it. And if we can be that resource for you, please give us a call. But I also want you to think about this. There's a story that recently came out. Was it the Journal? Where did we see the story, Mary? Do you remember?
I think it was CNBC.
Maybe it was CNBC. That talked about how our adult children are still dramatically relying on their parents for financial support.
And unfortunately, this story also focused on the parents feeling that it was necessary for them to continue to provide this financial support well into adulthood. And, you know, I mean, there are good and bad things to that situation.
Now, when you say well into adulthood, you're saying that these are parents who perhaps might even be in their 60s and 70s that are needing to feel obligated to provide financial support to their 40 and 50-year-old children.
That's correct. And it's a generational thing as well. The parents who are now in their 50s, say, and the kids are in their mid-20s. Now, they've graduated from college, they're out working, but some of those parents feel that their kids graduated during a very tumultuous time, and they didn't get the start that they would have, the high-paying jobs that they might have wanted to get or expected to get. So they might not be earning the income that was once expected. So the parents feel the need to support these kids, financially support these kids, and expect to continue to do so throughout their adult life, which is amazing to me, I have to say.
Because, and I looked at that story.
And you're in that age bracket.
I am. So,
and
and I've got
kids.
20-year-old children, right?
Right.
I don't feel a need to have to financially support my children because my children have always grown up with this mantra that in order to be successful, you need to be resourceful, you need to be accountable, and you need to be creative. And my children have always taken that, and they've taken that proactive initiative to find jobs, to find employment. But nevertheless, our children today who are finding jobs in their 20s and 30s are making far more money than we would have ever made when we were in those age brackets. Right. And even now in their 50s, 40s and 50s, they're making 2, 3, 5 times what we made. Yet as adults, as parents or grandparents, whatever, we're feeling this obligation that we still need to supplement their expenses.
And, you know, in all honesty, this, in many cases, this does a big disservice to the children because, again, you have to face reality. The parents are not always going to be around. And what happens once they die? The kids can't afford this lifestyle anymore, and they might have been used to this, you know, assisted lifestyle well into their 50s. What do they do now?
Right. And so some of these children, as terrible as it might sound, and this is not on the CNBC story that we saw, is they're expecting an inheritance from their parents.
Yeah.
They are fully expecting that when they approach retirement, when these children approach retirement, that mom and dad will be dead or approaching death in such a way that the vast majority of their assets are ultimately going to be passed down to their children so that they can perpetuate that lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to.
But remember, what is an enormous amount of money or well, you know, provides a very good lifestyle for somebody in their 60s and 70s for the next 20, 30 years is not enough to support somebody who's now 50 years old who inherits this money and might inherit a third of the money to perpetuate that lifestyle for the next 50 years.
Right. And besides, remember, when your parents die, generally that net worth is divided amongst all the siblings.
Correct.
Unless you're an only child, you're only getting a portion of that.
Yeah.
And so it's a really interesting phenomenon that parents today seem to think, oh, I need to help my kids with X, Y, or Z, yet the kids are making so much money and they say, I don't understand how I can't afford this, that, or the other thing. And what we're hearing them say back to us is, well, life is so much more expensive these days. Have you seen the cost of a house? Have you seen the cost of rent? Have you seen the cost of this? Well, yes. Those are choices. And we've talked about the difference between wants and needs.
Absolutely.
The social media and marketing lifestyle that we live in today is almost forcing this generation from 20 to 50 years old, to buy things that they frankly don't need, but they feel like they need it because someone else has it, or they heard about it, or I need to buy this, that, or the other thing. Yeah. And it's
scary, actually.
It really
I don't
is.
know what's going to happen.
I always find it fascinating that we had a situation where there were grandparents that, I remember this was back in 2008 during the financial crisis. This family had just retired. They had just retired, and all of a sudden, 3 months after retirement came along, the market dropped. And they were worried, oh my God, are we going to have enough money to supplement on top of our Social Security, on top of our pension, on top of everything? Because one of their biggest expenses that they had to lay out was $20,000 that they were using to pay for their grandchildren's daycare costs.
Had to lay out.
Had to lay out because their kids who were making 4 times as much money as they were, didn't seem to have the resources available to pay for the daycare costs of their own children. So these grandparents were paying money for the grandkids. And she started to cry in the meeting. She says, my kids have told me that they have grown so accustomed to our generosity that if they pulled back the money to pay for the daycare costs, they may not be able to see their grandchildren as often. It was horrible.
That's a
to
terrible,
hear that story.
Yes, that's a terrible story.
And so we see a lot that's going on. These parents feel this sense of obligation, whether it's, the kids say, well, I need to remodel my kitchen every 5 years, or buy granite countertops, or buy new high-end appliances.
These are not needs.
These are not needs. And by the way, you buy all this high-end appliance stuff, and we're eating out more than ever before.
Right.
Remember when we were growing up, we ate at home all the time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so funny because, I have these examples. So I used to be in the food industry, as did you.
Yep.
But, I worked for a caterer for many years. And the funny thing was, the people who built these fantastic kitchens with all these high-end appliances, they actually had never used the ovens a lot of times. You go into the house to, do the catering job, and they hadn't even used the oven because the
plastic stuff
would be in there. The racks would still be all tied up.
Yep.
And you're thinking, oh my God. And the people had lived there for years. I mean, it wasn't somebody who had just moved in. So it's amazing, yeah.
So the reason that we tell these stories to you is to showcase as a financial planner, it's not just about what investments to buy. It is investments is a sliver in the overall pie that we call financial planning.
Correct.
It's addressing these issues, raising concerns, asking clients to expose themselves a little bit more, to share what their wishes are, what their dreams are, what their concerns are as it relates to money. And for us to be able to work that through and figure out an equitable way to help them achieve those long-term objectives.
Right. And, and also to, at some point, put some constraints on them.
Absolutely, if it's necessary. Yeah. If it's not,
maybe it never is.
Look, we've also used the term, and you've probably heard us do this on this show, give with warm hands rather than cold ones. Yeah. Right? So finding that balance.
Well, Mark, and I know you feel this as well, one thing that brings me great joy, and I look for joy in my life all the time as well, but is traveling with my family.
Those experiences.
And I know you do too. And it's experiences. And I decided a couple of years ago that that's what we were going to do. We were going to travel with the family, create these experiences, because that meant more to all of us than any gift ever could.
Absolutely. So if now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning and investment management needs, as we head into 2025, perhaps what will bring you joy is getting your financial house in order, having someone answer those questions that have been juggling in your mind, or all those balls that are up there in the air that create paralysis to you because you say, Absolutely. I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
It's time to give us a call.
And who can I really talk this over with?
Yeah, and we're going to be open, we're going to be honest, we're going to be transparent.
Absolutely.
There is nothing that we hide from you. You can ask us anything.
Yep.
Give us a call, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. or you want to learn a little bit more about us online, visit us at freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. And if you want to get our newsletter, you can get that every week. Over 7,000 subscribers get it. Go to the bottom of any page on our newsletter. Down there, you just put in your email address and your name. That's it. And you'll get it every Friday, 10:30 in the morning, right?
Yep, 10:30.
10:30. We haven't missed it since March, get this, of 2009.
And if you remember what was happening then, it was pretty bleak time.
It was. Do you know that the stock market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, was floating in the 6,000s?
I think it was like 6,700, something like that.
Yeah, and now we're over 40,000.
Yep.
And people thought, well, you know, before we hit 6,000, it was actually around 11,000. Before that, that's when it went down. And people said, oh, I don't know if I'll ever see 11,000 again in my lifetime.
Yeah, all those people are still our clients.
Yeah, they are still our clients.
And now they're seeing 44,000.
Yeah, because, you know why? Because they didn't sell out.
Right.
We have to be mindful. We have to be thoughtful. You have to have a plan, and we're here to provide it for you. We wish you a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. And
great 2025.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more financial advice in a language you can understand next week. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.